Hello everyone, we're going to receive more news about the Packers, but before that, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Packers rumors: Alexander, Walker, Wyatt, McManus, Nixon. At his season-ending press conference last month, Packers GM Brian Gutekunst left the door open for CB Alexander to return to the team in 2025. Eerie at the beginning stages of just kind of gathering information as a whole before we start looking at next year and how we're going to lay this thing out, Gutekunst said of Alexander's status. But we could pay him. I mean, obviously, when he's healthy and he's ready to play, he's a pretty good player, via Matt Schneidman of The Athletic, subscription required. Clearly, that is far from a commitment to bringing Alexander back in 2025, and Schneidman believes the two-time Pro Bowler has already played his last snap for Green Bay. Alexander is technically under club control through 2026, but his $16.15 million salary and $25 cap number for 2025 could prove unpalatable for Gutekunst and company, who could create $6.84 million of cap space by cutting or trading the Louisville product before June 1. A post-June 1 maneuver would clear over $17 million of room this year. As Gutekunst noted, Alexander has plenty of value when healthy. Unfortunately, that has not been the case in recent history. The market-topping 4-year, $84 million contract Gutekunst authorized for Alexander in May 2022 led to promising early returns, as Alexander played 16 games that season, intercepted a career-high 5 passes, and yielded a career-best 63.7 QB rating as part of a Pro Bowl effort. But Alexander played in just 7 games in both of the last 2 seasons, with his 2024 campaign cut short by a PCL tear. After the December 2023 coin toss fiasco led to a 1-game suspension and trade/release rumors last offseason, the Packers elected to keep their talented but injury-prone defender in the fold. This year, however, he may have a new employer. As Schneidman notes, Gutekunst sounded much more positive when discussing the Green Bay futures of 2022 first-rounders Quay Walker and Davante Wyatt. The team must decide whether to exercise the 5th-year options on both players by May 1, an option that would keep them under club control through 2026. "We're super fired up about both those guys' seasons this year," Gutekunst said. Quay continued to make a leap, and another guy who had struggled through injuries at the end of the year, but he was really impactful for us this year. Continues to be a great leader for us. Certainly think we would love to have him around here for longer than just a couple years. He's that kind of guy. And Democrat Wyoming was probably our most consistent pass rusher from the inside this year. Both of them dealt with some injuries and was really proud of how they attacked those and played through some things this year, but I think both those guys had their best years as pros so far. At the start of the 2024 season, it sounded as if Walker would not have his option picked up. And in terms of the advanced metrics, his performance last year was fairly underwhelming, as his 57.4 overall grade from Pro Football Focus positioned him as the 63rd best linebacker out of 84 qualified players, which is roughly in line with his first 2 pro seasons. Given that he does not play a premium position, and given that his 5th-year option is worth a fully guaranteed $16.06 million, it would not surprise if the option were declined. On the other hand, Gutekunst's comments made it seem as if he values Walker more highly than the analytics do. Wyatt's 5th-year option would check in just north of $13 million, but after totaling 10.5 sacks over the 2023-23 seasons, he has established himself as a viable pass-rushing presence from the interior of the defensive line, even if his run defense could still use some improvement. Of course, getting after the quarterback is the name of the game in today's NFL, and having an interior defender who can consistently put pressure on opposing passers is a luxury. Gutekunst also made it plain that he would like to re-sign kicker Brandon McManus, via Tom Silverstein of the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. McManus, who recently faced sexual assault allegations stemming from his time as a member of the Jaguars, signed with the Packers in October and resolved the civil suit filed by his accusers. It is unclear if the suit was dismissed or if the parties reached a settlement. On the field, the 33-year-old specialist was terrific for Green Bay, nailing 20 of 21 field goal attempts and all 30 PATs last season. Thanks in part to Alexander's injury-related absences, Keisean Nixon has seen plenty of action at cornerback over the past 2 seasons. Although he has not necessarily thrived in that role, he wants to focus on his defense as opposed to his kick return duties moving forward. Nixon, who will turn 28 in June, earned first-team All-Pro honors in 2022 and 2023 for his efforts as a return man, but he ran back just 18 kickoffs in 2024, compared to 35 in 2022 and 30 in 2023. The recent rule changes relating to kickoffs played a major role in that development. I'm kind of over it, Nixon said of his third-phase work, as relayed by Schneidman in a separate subscribers-only piece. I don't really want to do it no more. There's going to be talks with the coaching staff and stuff like that, but I think it's over with for me. Nixon is under contract through 2026 and is due just $1.17 million in base pay this year. Curd is the word, making our wish lists. 'Tis the off-season for wants first. Welcome to my new weekly article titled Curd is the Word. Each week, I'll be using this space to spill my thoughts on the current goings-on with the Green Bay Packers and the rest of the NFL. I'll get into the news, occasional player evals, and who knows, I'll probably fall into a random Star Wars-related rant or a beer endorsement here and there. I'll try to somehow make them Packers-related. I hope you enjoy this new weekly journey, and before I get too wordy with an intro, let's get into it. It doesn't matter how your season finishes, you always have your needs and wants when it's all over. How is your team going to improve? Or how is it going to maintain its success? From coaching changes to free agency and the draft after, the fun never stops for an NFL team. So, you bet the fans are involved in how they want it all to go. Trade rumors have been flying around for weeks with Seattle DK Metcalf and Las Vegas Max Crosby at the forefront. The best part of these rumors for me is that the Seahawks and Raiders haven't given any indication yet whether or not they will be moving on from these players. But I guess that's the nature of the beast. The ideas are put out into the world and they see who bites. While I would love to see either player in green and gold, I don't see either being cheap, especially Max Crosby. I would assume Crosby would demand a first-round pick and possibly more. I just don't see the Packers swinging that type of a deal. When was the last time the Packers directly traded a first-round pick away for a veteran player? Brett Favre? Oh great, now everyone will tell me how that ended up working out. Brian Gutekunst, like his predecessor Ted Thompson, values his draft picks too much to swing a trade like that. However, stranger things have happened, and maybe it's time we skip grabbing a first-round project player for a year and use the pick for a veteran who can make a big difference. Max Crosby would instantly bolster the pass rush and teams would have to pick their poison. Do they double-team Max Crosby or Rashawn Gary? Both relentless pass rushers would cause fits for opposing offenses. It's what dreams are made of for us fans. DK Metcalf on the other hand, I think I'd push a third-round pick, maybe a second if Seattle sends back a little extra. I've been a fan of Metcalf since he was a draft prospect coming out of Ole Mississippi. With Christian Watson supposed to be absent half the season, the Packers instantly get a deep threat with Metcalf and perhaps a more physical receiver than Watson has been, with Metcalf holding about 30 pounds over Watson at the same height. Then we look towards free agency. Of course, the popular pick is T. Higgins amongst most fans. The only comment I'm going to make on the subject is that if the Packers do sign Higgins to a long-term deal, I will welcome him. However, I want a stipulation of his contract to be that after he signs, he's driving to Austin Straubel Airport and getting on a flight to Madison, Wisconsin so he can visit the same specialists Eric Stokes and Christian Watson visited last summer for their hamstring issues. Higgins has missed the same amount of games as Watson has in his career due to injury, with his hamstrings being one of the causes. If he's signing long-term with the Packers, hopefully, UW-Madison specialists can help him as they did Watson and Stokes to ensure he stays healthy for the majority of his Packers career. Over the last few days, we've seen some changes to the Packers coaching staff. One that hits home the most with me is the loss of linebackers coach Anthony Campanile to the Jaguars' defensive coordinator position. Almost exactly a year ago, he was hired under Jeff Hafley, and I gushed about his hiring on this site. When he was hired, I talked about loving his intensity and dedication, but I also noted that he was a DC candidate with both the Dolphins and Giants before being passed up for those jobs and coming to Green Bay. So, a one-year stint isn't a big surprise, to be honest. Campanile is to thank for the development of Jaron Cooper in his rookie season. Hopefully, his tutelage will stick around with Sean Duggan, who is considered to be an internal shoo-in for the job given his experience at the position and being a co-defensive coordinator with Jeff Hafley at Boston College. Whether the Packers elevate Duggan or not, hopefully, Campanile's intensity leaves a lasting impact. After Tom Clement's retirement, I had a few ideas for his replacement, and the top candidate was Sean Mannion. Well, Mannion was announced as the heir to the Packers quarterbacks coach position, taking over for the legendary Clements. Last year, when Mannion was brought in as an assistant, it almost seemed like he was being groomed as an heir apparent to Tom Clements, and now we see that was possibly the truth. Hopefully, Sean Mannion absorbed everything he could from the great coach to help out the Packers QBs moving forward. The Packers have hired former Patriots defensive coordinator DeMarcus Covington to coach the defensive line. Covington is highly regarded as one of the top young NFL coaches to watch. He invests in his guys going out and playing for each other more than anything and attacking the football with good discipline. Sounds like he'll fit in well with what the Packers are trying to build on defense. Well, we're a week removed from the conference championship games. And I still feel the same. It was two teams that hadn't been to the Super Bowl in the last 30 years against two teams that have been there multiple times and won in the last 7. It would have been nice to see at least one of the two between the Bills and Commanders make it. But no, we get a Super Bowl rematch from 2 years ago. The only people who are happy about the Super Bowl are Eagles and Chiefs fans and, of course, Swifties. I'm not the type of fan to boycott the Super Bowl, because I can't help it. It's the Super Bowl, I'm a football fan, and I'm watching. I survived the annoyance of watching the Patriots in the Super Bowl year after year. I think I'll survive the Chiefs and Eagles. I will say I think the Eagles showed a bit of dominance in their win over Washington, cementing that they deserve to make the trip. There were a few questionable calls in the game, but overall it didn't completely change the outcome, and I look forward to seeing if Saquon Barkley can bring running backs back into the spotlight in the biggest game of the year. The Chiefs, on the other hand, I think luck follows them everywhere. The Bills were a good team and came close, but some questionable play calls did them no favors. Who constantly runs QB sneaks in short yardage situations, expecting to convert each time? Who do they think they are? The Eagles? A little creativity wouldn't have hurt them. Even though one of those sneaks Josh Allen had the first down but did not, we won't talk about that now. This week, we'll likely see some more changes in the coaching carousel around the league, with some intrigue in the future of Packers offensive coordinator Adam Stenavich interviewing for the Texans OC opening. I'll get into that and Super Bowl predictions next time. Davante Adams sparks Packers reunion rumors with latest Instagram post. On Friday afternoon, former Green Bay Packers wide receiver Davante Adams took to Instagram to post a photo featuring a striking detail: green and yellow shoes. The image immediately sparked speculation among fans and analysts. Could Adams be hinting at a possible return to Green Bay, Or was this merely a playful social media moment? The Packers traded Adams to the Las Vegas Raiders before the 2022 NFL Draft, marking the end of his highly successful tenure in Green Bay. In his first 2 seasons with the Raiders, Adams maintained his elite status, recording 100 receptions in 2022 and 103 in 2023. However, his tenure in Las Vegas was cut short when he was traded to the New York Jets early in the 2024 season to reunite with quarterback Aaron Rodgers. During his time in New York, Adams played 11 games, tallying 67 receptions for 854 yards and 7 touchdowns. Now 32 years old, Adams also surpassed the 100 career touchdown milestone this season. Despite his success, Adams' future remains uncertain. If Rodgers and the New York Jets, under new head coach Aaron Glenn, aim for another run in 2025, Adams may choose to stay. Yet, if the Jets undergo significant roster changes, Adams could be on the move again. Regardless, his $35.64 million base salary for 2025 and 2026 will likely be renegotiated. Adams has expressed his admiration for Rodgers and their chemistry on the field, making it possible for him to remain in New York if the team is poised for a deep playoff run. However, if the New York Jets struggle, teams like the Packers may emerge as strong contenders for his services. Whether through free agency or a trade, Adams' potential landing spot will be one of the major storylines of the offseason. Meanwhile, the Packers are facing their own uncertainties at wide receiver. Following a strong finish to the 2023 season, including a dominant playoff victory over the Dallas Cowboys, Green Bay appeared to have a promising young receiving core featuring Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Jayden Reed, and Dontavian Wicks. However, the group did not progress as expected in 2024. Watson's torn ACL will sideline him for the first half of 2025, Doubs struggled with a suspension and concussions, Reed faded in the latter part of the season, and Wicks battled issues with dropped passes. The Packers' depth at receiver has been a strength, but when Watson and Doubs were unavailable, the unit struggled. General Manager Brian Gutekunst now faces a critical decision. Should he rely on internal development and possibly add a rookie through the draft, or should he make a bold move by acquiring a proven veteran? If choosing the latter, it could lead to a reunion with Davante Adams. During an interview with Kay Adams on FanDuel Sportsbook's Up and Adams, Davante Adams noted that the Packers might need some receiver help. He previously praised Jordan Love's development on ex-teammate Max Crosby's podcast, saying, "The kid is a baller, man. I'm so happy for him." Adams' potential return to Green Bay would bring veteran leadership and elite playmaking ability, potentially elevating Love's game to the next level. His experience and reliability could be what the Packers need to turn their young, talented group into an elite unit. Having caught 669 passes for 8,121 yards and 73 touchdowns over 8 seasons in Green Bay, Adams remains an elite talent. If the Packers are serious about contending in 2025, reuniting with Adams could be the missing piece in their quest for another championship. Only time will tell if Green Bay makes a move to bring their former star back home. And are you a fan? What do you think of the Davante Adams situation? Leave your opinion in the comments.